there.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting my request and accepting to talk with me.
It's my pleasure. It's very nice to reach people from all over the world, as you have done. I've checked out some of your videos, and there's a lot of authors I've never heard of, so it's wonderful.
So I want you to introduce to yourself to my audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm HELEEN KIST. I am Dutch, but I live in Scotland. I live in Glasgow, and I'm the author of two novels, which are right here. The first one, In Servitude, and the next one is Stay Mad, Sweetheart. Both are suspense novels, and they are set in Scotland. The first one I self-published, and the second one I published with a small indie publisher, and that one came out in November, just in November last year.
Stay mad, my sweetheart.
Stay Mad, Sweetheart. It's a bit of a feminist revenge story. So when it tackles the gray areas of consent and discrimination in the workplace for women. And so Stay Mad, Sweetheart is what we would say to somebody who's being a little bit of a misogynistic bad man. And it came from just, being asked on the street to smile more, and just general harassment that you get as a woman. I've experienced some of it in the workplace, not very much, but of course there are people who experience much worse. So the story is set in a data science startup in Edinburgh. And the main character, Laura, is a data scientist. She loves her books. She doesn't like people very much. But her best friend is assaulted by a Hollywood movie star and gets trolled online a lot. And so Laura uses her data science skills to try to find out who's harmed her. And this all happens while her startup is being sold to a big Silicon Valley company. And she and some other women realize that they've not been treated very well, and they take their revenge.
Okay. So is this a real story or just a fictional story?
It's all fiction. It's all very much made up, but a lot of what the sort of insidious harassment, the little things like when you call a woman girl, when you ask the woman to make the coffee in the meeting, all these things happen in real life, and they're reflected in the book. My first book, In Servitude, is a domestic suspense story, so it's not in the workplace. It takes place in Glasgow, and it is the story of a woman whose sister dies in a car accident. That's not a spoiler. It's the first line of the book. And she then discovers that her sister was embroiled with gangsters who now have their clutches on her, and she needs to try to escape that. And that, thankfully, is also fiction, because I've never had any dealings with gangsters. But it's Glasgow is very well known as a hard city, and a city historically with lots of crime. There are many stories set in Glasgow that are very dark.
So other than this, have you wrote any other books?
I have finished my third book, but it's not out yet. And I'm hoping it'll be out next year. And actually, that one is also set in Glasgow, but the main characters, her family, are of Hindu descent. They come from India originally. And so that's why I enjoyed receiving your invitation to speak, because actually I'd like to think that people in India might be very interested in this. So this is the story of Radha Bakshi, who is a dentist in Glasgow, but she is traumatized by the death of a patient in her chair, and that has awoken a lot of other traumas that she's had in the past, and she feels very overwhelmed and becomes addicted to Valium, to drugs. But when she runs out of the pills and she can't prescribe them through her clinic anymore, then she turns to the internet. But unfortunately, she falls into the trap of, again, local Glasgow gangsters who then start blackmailing her. And it's the story of what happens next. It's a thriller again, but my work has, there's some deep characters. And for Radha, for example, she feels the pressure of being the perfect mother, being the perfect wife, and being the perfect daughter to her father, Gunbir, who has lost his wife. And it used to be his dental clinic that his daughter now runs. And he comes and watches her all the time because, and she feels him judging her, and she feels the aunties that are the friends that were her parents' friends. They're judging her all the time. And so that just adds to the pressure and why she struggles so much. But in the end, you'll find that, family is actually your best friend.
So now let's talk about you.
About me. So yeah, I came to writing very late. I'm 50 years old. Well, and when in January of 2017, I decided in my midlife crisis that I would write a book that year, because how hard could it be? And actually, it is very hard, it turns out. But I wrote in servitude in the first year, and I took some online courses, the James Patterson masterclass I took, and I read a couple of books, and I just had a go. And when I sent it off to a blogger to read, I had arranged with her at Christmas, I'm going to send you this book, so that I had a deadline. And I sent it to her. She's in India, actually. And she replied the next day and said it was great. And I was so surprised because, yes, I'd been working on it for a year, but, I didn't expect it to be a proper book. I expected it to be something that, my mother would read, and I would put it on Amazon and my friends would read it, and nothing more than that. But then she and then some other people that I sent it to, who were strangers to me, so they didn't have to be nice to me, said that it was actually really good. So I then decided to bring it out into the world. And two of those medals right there are for In Servitude. So it got silver medal from the Independent Publishers Book Awards and won finalist from the Next Generation Indie Book Awards as well. And it was shortlisted for the Selfies, which was the first award for self-published authors in the UK at the London Book Fair. So then, it was meant to be just a silly hobby. And my day job is as a strategy consultant. It has nothing to do with writing, although the data science and the startup setting of Stay Mad Sweetheart is a space that I work in a lot. So I wrote from what I know, as they say you should do. And so then I just started really writing, and I got very encouraged by my readers and the book bloggers in the UK. And some abroad as well have been very supportive. And I live in Glasgow with my husband and my 2 teenage children, and we just got a cat. So on my Twitter, you will see quite a lot of cat pictures at the moment.
So other than writing and other than your full-time job, what you'll do?
Well, I'm a mom, so, one of the themes that you see in my books is about working women feeling a lot of pressure, and that's true, because we do juggle. Now, I have a very good husband, thankfully, who does a good share of the household, and he's also a very good dad, so I'm very fortunate. But yeah, it doesn't leave an awful lot of time for other things. I like going out to dinner, but obviously the coronavirus crisis has put a stop to that. I've been out 4 times in the last 6 months, and today the First Minister of Scotland has closed all the pubs and restaurants again in Glasgow. So my husband and I are going to the cinema tonight for the first time for 6 months. And that'll be the last time again for at least another 2 weeks, because everything's shutting down in Glasgow again, which is unfortunate.
Do you have anything to say to the authors and writers who are watching this video from anywhere on this planet?
I think, for people who haven't read any Scottish crime, Scotland is very well known for its crime. It has Bloody Scotland, a Scottish crime writing festival as well. Ian Rankin is a very well-known author. He writes the Rebus series. But so it's worth trying out some Scottish crime in particular, such as mine, of course. But we also have some beautiful historical fiction authors, and the settings are obviously very interesting because if you haven't visited, it's very different to where you are. They tend to have a bit of a dry humor as well, a dark humor, the Scottish books. And if you haven't, and if you're contemplating writing, I'm hoping that my story is a little bit of an encouragement because most writers that I know, they were writing when they were teenagers or children, and they always had a notebook, and they always knew they wanted to be a writer. And well, I didn't, and I didn't even read very much growing up. So I think it's never too late to start, and it's never too late to have a go. And I think the industry is very difficult. It's very difficult to get in, but the self-publishing opportunities are really there, and there are a lot of people who do that very successfully, and there are a lot of resources online to do that successfully. And I'm hoping that my third one will be traditionally published again, and that the fourth one, which I'm plotting out right now, which is a multi-murder set in a gym, that one will maybe do better still. So I think have faith, and if things aren't working out for you, take control.
At last, do you have anything to say about my video series?
Yeah, well, I really enjoyed seeing authors from all over the world. And, I think that there's a lot of airtime given to authors who have, who are selling millions of books and doing very well. And to have a channel such as yours where people can discover authors that don't get as much media support, and that could be very interesting and tell you stories of their own place is really lovely. So I think it's great that you're doing this.
Thank you so much for coming and accepting to talk with me and giving your valuable time. I took 20 minutes from you, but I completed in 13 minutes. I feel very happy to talk.
Well, thank you, and I hope that your viewership grows, and I'll certainly be sharing this video online. But thank you for what you're doing, and have a good evening.
Thank you. Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Absolutely. Yes.
Thanks a lot. Keep going and keep writing, and enjoy the movie today.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.